If you've been thinking that clinical medicine is rough these days, you're not alone. In this video, I'm going to share a simple strategy to help you find ways to be at least 10% happier in your current situation while you're figuring out your next moves. If you're new here, hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Bailey. I'm a retired pediatrician who made the leap to a non-clinical career 9 years ago, and I'm currently working as an executive medical director in a global contract research organization. I'm thriving in my second career, and now I help physicians and medical professionals figure out their next moves. In my recent conversations with physicians, many of them have been using the word rough to describe the current environment that they're practicing in. And that is regardless of whether you are in a community practice or a private practice or in a hospital setting. It seems to really be getting worse, not better. And so one of the questions that I pose to the physicians that I work with is, how can you make your situation 10% better? And really what I'm referring to is just your experience of work right now while you're figuring out what you want to do next. And so here are a couple of suggestions to think about. The first is, where are the moments during the day that bring you joy? And really paying attention to those. So often those moments get missed in the busyness of the day, and if you can just pause briefly to appreciate those small moments of joy, that can actually have a positive impact on your overall experience throughout the day. I remember from my own days of practice that sometimes just having a moment with a child where they looked me directly in the eyes and said something that either made me laugh or said something that just warmed my heart. I remember a 3-year-old who asked me why I was so short. I'm 5'2½", and so that was an interesting conversation. And then another kid who was tugging at my coattail and was very patient. I asked him to wait until I finished talking to his mom, and then when I turned back to him and asked him what he wanted to ask me, he said, "Dr. Bailey, do you have to pee?" And in that moment, I realized I did. I had my legs tightly crossed, and I had been rocking back and forth, and I think he recognized that as something that he did when he had to go to the bathroom. And so it made me laugh and made his mom laugh as well. And so just capturing those little moments and storing them up, that's something that can help ease a little bit of the burden of practice, because it reminds you of why you went into medicine in the first place. The second suggestion is to do things that bring you back to your 5 senses, because it can be very grounding when the day feels chaotic, or if you're feeling very challenged in an interaction with a patient or with a clinic staff member or hospital staff member. These are things that can help you reset in just a few moments. And so look around the room and notice the things that you see. Just appreciate whatever is in your view as you're scanning quickly. Take a deep breath in and notice what aromas or smells are present in your space. Use your tactile sensation, right? So one thing that I used to do was, as I was going to see a patient, before I was going to do an exam, I would wash my hands. And I started bringing my attention to the feel of the metal handle when I would turn it, how that was cool. And then the sensation of the water. Also using the soap. I tended to be a soap girl instead of a hand sanitizer. But the feel of the bubbles as they were forming and my hands gliding back and forth, all of those things kind of root you back to the present moment, as opposed to worrying about the future or ruminating on something that happened in an earlier part of your day. Sound is the other. And that can be external sounds that are in the room with you, sounds that might be in the distance, but also pay attention to the internal sounds, like the sound of swallowing or the sound of your own breath. Again, all of those things bring you back to the present moment, where there's a little bit of space and a center of calm. And that can really make a difference in an otherwise chaotic day. And then the final suggestion I'd like to leave you with is just capturing moments of gratitude. Where are the acts of kindness that you can spot? What are acts of kindness that you might extend to someone else that sort of fills your heart and brings you some satisfaction and joy? Accumulating these during the day, and then at the end of your day, writing down 3 good things. There's a lot of evidence-based literature to this, and I remember my time at Duke, Brian Sexton, who is a psychologist, did an experiment and had the residents and the faculty writing down 3 good things at the end of each day for a period of 2 weeks. And the literature shows that there is a felt sense of more happiness and general contentment when you do that. Because the things that are challenging and frustration are the things that really get our attention. And these more subtle moments are quieter, they're more silent. And so unless you're calling them out, they can end up being underappreciated or overlooked altogether. So you can do this in analog form, just writing down. I usually carry a moleskin notebook or something really thin like that. And you can use that to write down at the end of every day. Or if you prefer a digital format, then you can use one of your digital devices to record this. But give it a try for 30 days and see what you notice. For any of these strategies that I've shared with you today, look at them as an experiment. You may have a hypothesis about what's going to happen. You might think, oh, okay, maybe she has something here and this will help. Maybe you're thinking the opposite, like, I don't think this is going to make a difference. But try it for yourself and see, and have your own personal experience to inform whether or not these are things that may help. If you have additional suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Please put them down in the comments. If you found something valuable in this video, please consider sharing it with a friend or colleague that you know is also really struggling or feeling that medicine is rough these days. And I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to be alerted for more videos like this. And if you have ideas about other topics that you'd like to hear, also just put that down in the comments. I read everyone. Thanks for being here. Bye.